coming out. We're going to go ahead and get started. Catherine Jordan, 2nd District City Council rep for those who haven't met yet. Really appreciate you spending some of your beautiful Wednesday night. Usually we try and keep this meeting to about an hour. That said, we do have a lot of terrific presenters here, so this is set the expectation that maybe going to be an hour and a half so that people can present questions to our directors. So additionally, I would just say, as with every meeting we record, so you can go back and watch this on YouTube. You could share it with your friends if you found it particularly interesting. Go back and watch old ones. Be one of the 6 people who watched it. And help us up our numbers. But in all seriousness, we're very glad you're here. We take your time seriously. We put a lot of thought into who we invite out to these meetings. I'm going to invite our school board representative, Kate Ricard, up first. Katie, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie Ricard, elected to the school board in January, and I'm excited to be here. I just wanted to go over a few things to just draw your attention to. So the first is, I actually left this down, but the General Assembly has wrapped up and now things are with Governor Youngkin to progress or not. And for public schools, it was a really kind of exciting General Assembly because a few key things happened that we have been working towards. And one was eliminating the support staff cap. So that was put in place during the rocky times of 07 and 08. This allows us to hire more support staff for our students, things like counselors, people like that, to support our students. And it also comes with additional funding so that we can actually hire them. The other thing is additional add-ons to help our students with disabilities, which would also give us additional funding for Richmond Public Schools. In school construction, we were hoping to just overall get more money for school construction, because if you've driven by any of Richmond Public Schools, you know we have many needs for those buildings. There's been a lot of deferred maintenance. What is progressing to the governor is something that would permit localities to do a 1% sales tax referendum that would support school construction explicitly. No one likes sales tax going up, but I would say for our schools in Richmond City, it would be a benefit to get that extra money to help our schools. And then the final thing is with investing in mental health. So one thing that's really interesting is that they've expanded telehealth partnerships. And I wanted to bring this up because Carver Elementary, which is in the 2nd District, is actually a pilot for telehealth right now. It's one of 3 schools within Children's Hospital of Richmond. And what it allows is, during the school day, it allows students to meet with a pediatrician during school hours through telehealth. And parents can come in, or parents can also come in virtually. And it's really going to expand the ability for those students to get the help they need. Richmond has also been running vaccination clinics. So the telehealth is really exciting. One thing that our neighbors in Rico are doing is doing a mental health telehealth, which I would love to see expanded to Richmond. That's where students can access counseling services at any time, even off school hours, and that would be huge to help prevent the mental health crisis that we're seeing. So if there's anything on this list that you're like, yes, that sounds great, I hope all of it is. If you don't mind contacting Governor Youngkin and just saying, please, I hope you will sign into law this, and this. It's just really helpful for him to hear from constituents. Just a few other things, just based on our schools. Dogwood Middle School is now in the 2nd District. They just had a wonderful musical of Frozen, but coming up on April 12th, which is right after the Monument 10K. They are going to host a block party, and that will be a fundraiser. And I hope that you're around and it's a beautiful day, then I hope you'll come by and support that. It benefits the PTA. Carver Elementary School, a VCU student, is sponsoring a book drive for them. So if you are cleaning out and doing some spring cleaning and you have some children-aged books, there's a flyer on the table and it shows where you can drop them off, and that will allow them to not only expand their classroom libraries, but their in-home libraries as well. And then finally with Fox, as for an update on the progress on Hanover Avenue, great things are happening. The elevator's going in, the classrooms are getting all their casement and getting painted, and the molding and being out final shout out is if you love elementary school theater as much as I do, Willy Wonka is at Fox at Clark Springs this Friday at 6 p.m. and it's under an hour and it's always very cute. But with that, I will just take any questions. Probably the final thing is we are in budget season. Budgets are tight, we know that. One thing I like to point out for Richmond Public Schools, because of our collective bargaining agreements, we need at least an increase of $16.5 million. If we do not get that, we're then going to have to look at our current budget and where there are areas to downsize. And so that's something we're waiting to hear from the mayor and city council about, and they bring the budget back to us, but we're also just starting to create contingency plans and things like that. I know the agenda is full, but are there any questions?
Katie, can you do a shout out to get involved with our local PTAs?
Yes, yeah, so our, we right now have 2 PTAs in 2 of our schools in District 2, Dogwood Middle School and Fox Elementary. Harbor is working on a PTA. If you need any interest, if you have any interest in doing that, they are all on social media and on Facebook, but they always need volunteers. A great way to get involved is to stop by April 12th at the Dogwood Block Party. Strawberry Street is setting up for Fox. That'll be the Saturday before Mother's Day. It's always the second Saturday in May. We always need volunteers for that. It is a huge community event. Randolph comes over, Fox comes over. It's really great. So that would be awesome. And if you're interested in supporting the other schools that do not have PTAs, please let me know. That would be Harbor. It would be the Richmond Success Academy, which is on Lee Street, and the Technical Center. And I know one thing the Technical Center is actually looking for is to revamp their courtyard. It needs a lot of love. So if you have a green thumb and you're interested, please let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie. There are great things happening at RPS, so we're lucky to have a terrific school board and more great things to come. Our next speaker is Jason Gio with the Diamond District Partners. Jason, if you'd like to come up and just give an update on where things are with the Diamond District. I know we drive by, we see cranes, and I get asked about this all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time here tonight. I'm just going to give a very brief overview. It's an incredibly complex project, so we're trying to distill that down to like 5 minutes or less. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. As you may see, we kind of see from here, there are cranes on site. So the ballpark's been under construction since roughly like August, I think it was. And so what you're kind of seeing now is precast pieces being set into place. The ballpark itself, the entire site is about 10 acres, to give you an idea of relative size to the entire 67-acre tract of land. The Squirrels are overseeing construction of the ballpark along with Machete and Gilbane as their general contractor. What we at Tallheimer and Diamond District Partners are responsible for is everything outside of the ballpark. So that would be the public park just outside of the ballpark, all the horizontal infrastructure, so the streets, utility lines, stormwater infrastructure, everything else to support the private development, and then ultimately the private development buildings themselves, which will consist of really the first 4 buildings coming out of the ground that you'll see we'll have an affordable housing building. There'll actually be 3 buildings on a particular site right next to the ballpark. We've got a retail building just outside of the north side of the ballpark, which will have food and beverage options on non-game days, essentially for people, and a new 180-key hotel, and then a mixed-use site with principally market-rate apartments, and then with some office and retail space. So there are kind of like 4 different uses at one time coming out of the ground. We are doing 2 of the 4 buildings as a master developer. We're allowed to kind of take pieces and bring in partners to help us. We don't build hotels on a regular basis, so we brought in Capstone Development, minority owned firm up in Chevy Chase, Maryland. They're also supposed to be working on the City Center project downtown. They're helping us with the hotel, and then Penrose is an affordable housing developer up in, I think they're headquartered in Philadelphia. But they've got like 20,000 affordable units they've built across the country. They're going to be building the affordable housing piece. So we'll be responsible for the retail, the office, and the market rate apartments. So at this point, we actually have mobilized on site next to Gilbane, Whiting Turner as our general contractor. So if you've seen the signs out there, they're orange that say WT, that's our guys. And so the very first piece that we're installing of public infrastructure is there's a road on the southern portion of the site that kind of bridges the ballpark to Hermitage. And so we have some utilities under there. This is the first connector that needs to go in. And you might ask, well, how come we're not building all the roads at the same time? And part of the challenge is to build the ballpark, you need a little room to flex, right? For subcontractor parking, laydown, temporary stormwater detention, and storage of excess dirt that they don't need right now. So we've actually given up a lot of the land that we just bought. Oh, I forgot. We closed a couple of weeks ago selling the land, which is a big milestone. So now that we've closed, we're letting the Squirrels and Machete and Gilbane use some of that land, kind of as a logistics area for the ballpark. So we have to wait for them to move off a portion of that. There's also a, Scott's here, the Hanover water line that's running through the site that has to get relocated. The city's working with Mastec to get that out of the way. Once those two items are out, we'll continue with the road network, kind of moving from south to north on the site. So it's really, you're kind of looking at about a 2-year period where we also need sports packers to move, which Ed McLaughlin's working with his team to get the new facility up across the street so they can abandon the 6-acre parcel right in the middle. So we're going to have all these, it's like we game of musical chairs a little bit, trying to get all the pieces in the right order scheduled. Most important piece is obviously the ballpark. That's the anchor to the project. But, we're really excited about all the other amenities that this project's going to bring. There is a huge emphasis on pedestrian infrastructure. So to use a line from Kevin Vaughn, Director of Atlantic City, he said cars are welcome, but we're really trying to promote those other forms of pedestrian throughput, right? So whether it's biking, walking, scooters, whatever it is, right? So we're really excited about that. We submitted multiple rounds of plans to the city. Every city department is commenting on those. So we're working very closely with DPU, DPW, the Office of Sustainability, just to make sure that everything is well thought out. It's building a new neighborhood from scratch is a challenge, right? If you think about most of the streets in the city when they were built 100+ years ago, so the way we're building this infrastructure now, as private developers, we're not always used to thinking 100 years out. So we're kind of working with the city to think 50 years out, 100 years out. What is stormwater going to look like, right? How do we kind of solve the needs in the future? So there's a whole lot of thoughtfulness that is going into this. We're coordinating closely with VCU on just everything from the streetscapes to street lights to make sure that the neighborhood looks cohesive, right, and thoughtful. We just want everything about this project to be intentional. So, this is the place we want you to bring your family and friends when they visit Richmond, and you're like, well, I got 3 places to take you, right? We hope Diamond District's on that list towards the top. So we're really excited about it, and happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
How many affordable housing units are
So 20% of the total housing stock we're going to build will be affordable at a 60% area median income or less. And so for the phase 1 portion of the project, we have 331 units, 331, 333, I can't remember the exact number, the amount of affordable housing units we're building, and that's 20% of the total housing stock.
20%?
No, 333 affordable housing units. So we have call it plus or minus 1,600 total housing units, of which, if I'm doing the math correctly, 20% should come out to about 330, give or take.
And is that, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
is that locked in indefinitely, 60% AMI?
It is. There's a housing covenant that gets actually recorded on the parcel that will have the affordable housing units. So it's a covenant that runs in, I believe it's for at least 30 years, right? That runs with the land to kind of make sure that happens. And the 333 is a floor too. So if we changed our minds and built 1,200 units, we could not lower that to 3, whatever 20% of that is, 240, right? We have to keep it the 330 unit minimum number. Answer your question? Cool. Any others? Yes, sir.
Is there a place you could get details about time of district online?
Yes, I think, so there are a couple of places. The city's website, which I don't remember the extension, but so you probably, you know everything.
If you Google Diamond District City of Richmond, it'll be the first page. Okay.
So the plans are on there. Our development agreement's posted online. It's a matter of public record. That actually, you don't want to read the 180 pages of legalese, but if you skip to the end, you can actually see all the exhibits. That has all the plans and kind of the timeline, budget, schedule, and everything. It's kind of helpful to see. The other thing is there is a link to the live cam of the construction site, which that you can find and share with people. I think that's kind of fun to watch from time to time because it's actually on the diamond now, so you can see it down. There's another link which I think is public that shows drone shots overhead of Carmax Park under construction, so you can see it like month by month and kind of see the progress, which is pretty cool too. Yes, sir.
And you spoke about being pedestrian friendly.
Yep.
What are some of the plans for that are, you have the trouble from, but now you're looking at the over the bridge, they're walking on 5 feet.
So that's a good question. There is, so there are things we're doing inside the Diamond District and then outside of the Diamond District. And so outside of Diamond District, to start there, the city's looking at Arthur Ashe, at Hermitage, and looking at those street sections, and they're being redesigned to have shared use paths running kind of, what is that, we're north-south here, right? So you can have bikers, walkers, separate from the traffic, right? So out of the street at the end of the day, making sure those are wide enough. While this isn't final, there's a lot of discussion about trying to get the shared use path here to tie into the Fall Line Trail so that people can kind of, even if the full Fall Line Trail doesn't run through the Diamond District, a leg of it could connect, which would just make the connectivity better for cyclists and walkers. Inside the Diamond District, it's things like, and we're working very closely with Mike Sawyer at the city and the traffic group about how do you make the distance that you have to walk across the street as safely as possible with crosswalks and kind of bumping out the curves, if you will, to make those connections manageable. We've got a tabletop we're designing outside of the ballpark, so where cars come in, they have to go up a little bit. It kind of naturally slows you down. In the area where all the fans will move from the existing parking that's out there, you'll continue to use today, you can walk right over to the new ballpark. Better signage, better lighting, those are just some of the things, better bike racks, better bus shelters that are, all those little things we're trying to be kind of thoughtful about. I didn't get the question I always get is where am I going to park at the new ballpark? It's right where you're going to park today, right? So opening day is April 4th or 5th. There's 1,966 spaces that are out there in the surface lot. Those will remain there for probably the next 10 years until eventually that land gets developed and the city builds a parking deck. And you keep in mind when the old diamond comes down, that's several acres of more land that can be converted to temporary parking. So actually the parking capacity should go up in the future, not down. So we get that question a lot. The last question I'll tell you that I get, which I always laugh about, is people sometimes will say, when is construction starting in the ballpark? And I'm like, clearly you have not driven down Arthur Ashe in a while. Get in the car, get into the city. So we're excited to see all the progress.
All right, great. Our next speaker is with Parks and Rec, Brian. Thank you so much for being here. And I know some of you guys had an opportunity to look at the boards. They'll be here afterwards as well.
Thank you. Again, I'm Ryan Brennan. I'm a capital projects planner with Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities. I'm here with my colleague Daniel Haslett, who's another one of our planners. We've been working on Richmond Inspire, which is the first system-wide master plan for Parks and Recreation in the city of Richmond since the 1970s. And we've been at it about a year and a half now. So what we're here to share with you today is just a little bit of background of what we've heard so far, And then we have easy one-page feedback. Those of you who've already provided feedback, that was pretty easy, right? Didn't take very long. So if you provide some feedback for us today, and we can pass these out now or after the presentations are over, stop by and see us. We're going to put you in the drawing for one of these cool Richmond inspired meetings. So please give us some feedback. So far, we've been all across the city, all 9 districts. We've heard from, we got 2,400 surveys in the first round of surveys that we did. We did workshops in all 9 council districts. We had approximately 100 attendees throughout those meetings. We've had 11 different focus groups. We've had 13,000 people uniquely visit our website so far. And we have a lot of cool maps up, like the last board that you'll see over here. That's a live map. You can scan the QR code that will be up for the next few months. This is where you can come and say, hey, this needs to happen in my neighborhood. Drop a pin, tell us what needs to happen there. This will be up until we finish the plan document. So please make sure you use these tools that are on our richmondinspire.com website. All of our surveys, all of the data we've collected, all of the background becomes available, and we can take away any of the distinguishing characteristics of who submitted that community feedback data is going up publicly there. So at any point you can visit Richmond Inspire. So what have we heard so far? People love our park system, but they want us to fix the stuff that's broken. So the thing that we've heard the most is we have some deferred maintenance we want you to take care of. So that's a big thing that we wanted to see. And then we also have some park deserts in the city. Spots around the city where you can't walk to a park within 10 minutes. And that's kind of the national standard that was set by the Trust for Public Lands, is being able to walk within 10 minutes of your home to a park or open space so that improves your quality of life. So one of the goals that's really coming through here is that. The big things that we're going to be asking you to respond to now are, does this vision make sense? Do these driving principles make sense? And do the big moves that we're putting out here make sense? We'll say this is the higher level things. Right now we're up to about 195 different action item recommendations that are all tailored to how they fit with Richmond 300, how they fit with Richmond Connects, how they fit with the Climate Action Plan, RVA Green 2050, and how they reference back to all of those documents. So we see this as a cohesive part of all the planning efforts the city has done, and are referencing back how all of these things fit together. So we'll need some feedback if this vision makes sense for our park's future, and if our driving principles make sense. So if you have a second, at the end of this meeting, please come up and check out these boards real quick, give us some written feedback, or give us some feedback on your phone, and we'd love to hear from you. And that's my quick update. Or if there are any questions, I'm glad to take them.
Ryan, thank you so much. And we love coming here to Midtown Green. Thank you for hosting us. We really do have a fabulous parks department. Yes.
I could just make a question.
Sure.
How do you understand? Did you all work with the South District with the pop-up parks as well too? Are y'all a part of that? The pop-up parks?
We've been, not specifically, so that's been run through a nonprofit organization to do some of the pop-up parks, but we love them.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, we did too. We thought it was really good.
We think they're a really good idea and a really good way to kind of show what is possible in certain areas. So if you have a good spot where you think we should do one, drop a pin on the map over here and we'll see what we can figure out.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Greater Scotts Addition Association did a pop-up park right off of Broad in Cutshall. Who got to go out there and experience it? All right, okay. Yeah, it was a great, I think, demonstration, and just a little bit of the backstory on that. We were able to get permission from the surrounding businesses to do that experiment because it was temporary. So we really wanted to be able to prove the concept, but not betray the trust that the neighbors had given us that it was going to be temporary for now. So we very much are invested in getting more green space and park space to Scotts Addition. I know the museum district, which I think technically it's in the boundary of, is also interested in it. But reach out to the Scotts Addition Neighborhood Association, as well as the First District Council. That's Andrew Britton, if you want to continue to promote for that specific pop-up park. Yeah, it was really cool. Moving down our list, we have our Director of DPU, Scott Morris. Scott, you have hit the ground running. We're really grateful that you're here. Seems like the water crisis was yesterday, but also a million years ago. So appreciate you giving us an update on DPU and being available for a few questions. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. So what I'm going to do today is kind of go over what the interim report kind of shows, and then just kind of give you an update on what's going on at the water treatment plant, and then also my vision for DPU as we move forward. So if you had an opportunity to look at the interim report, it kind of outlines a bunch of recommendations that are, well, some of them we've already implemented, some of them we're still working through to resolve. The primary one that you'll see in there is the use of winter or summer mode, and that's basically how the switchgear is set up to allow electrical feed to go through the treatment plant. So, layman's terms, the summer mode adds additional redundancy and an additional fail point component that would switch over in the event that the other one failed. Winter mode only has one of those redundancies, so like if that one component fails, you're at risk of losing power. And looking at how to operate the facility, obviously we want to be in a reliable state at all times. So going forward, we're always going to be using that summer mode. That's going to be our default mode of operation. We're never going to revert back to the winter mode. It's inherently more stable. Most systems are set up to have two sources of feeds. So like you have a primary feed, and then you have a secondary feed. And then in some instances, a water treatment plant may have like a backup generator that serves as that secondary feed. Now, our water treatment plant also has backup generators as well, so that's a tertiary option. We're moving forward with a project that we bumped up in the schedule so that we can integrate an automatic transfer switch and those backup generators in addition to that primary and secondary feed. So that is projected to be substantially completed in November of 2025 this year. And so in that instance, you have your primary feed, and then you lose that, you have your secondary feed, both that redundancy and the switchgear, and then you also have the tertiary feed or the backup generators as a third option for power. So we feel that will make us a lot more reliable in our water treatment process. Having two backups to your primary is always better than just having one. Then we also went through and looked at the uninterrupted power sources, or UPSs. Those are basically like you have a computer and you have battery backup in your desk. Those operate for like 15, 30 minutes. If your computer time shuts down, so you don't use all your safe work. We have those same things with the water treatment plant. So in the event that you lose power, these UPSs are supposed to allow both the SCADA to operate for a short term, but also valve actuators that are at the facility. And that's to make sure that these valve actuators are closed, so you don't have impact to your facility, flooding, damage to your pumps, stuff of that nature. So what we looked at, and it's in the interim report as well, the sizing of those UPSs and where they needed to be to handle the load that was assigned to them. So we replaced those UPSs and we upsized those. The intention going forward is we're going to be having like at least 1 hour of sustainable operation on those UPSs, and that's just to allow plant operators time to troubleshoot whatever issue came up. If you have to call additional staff on to give them that response time to get to the site to actually address the issue. And then a couple of other recommendations from the report align towards just implementing best management practices at the facility. So, when you go through training exercises, standard operating procedures, those all need to be well documented, and staff need to know where to find them, where to reference these sources, so that in the event that an emergency happens, there's a central point of contact that they go to look at how I need to respond. And then also the staff need to be trained on that routinely so that it almost becomes second nature for them to respond to. So we're going through, we're revising some of those SOPs. I think we've identified about 53 SOPs that need to be updated. We'll be doing those updates, and then we'll be doing training sessions with all our operators, all our maintenance staff, to make sure they're familiar with those SOPs. And then annually thereafter, we're going to be doing refresher training on those same SOPs, looking at the SOPs, seeing if they need revisions. These facilities, they sustain upgrades as time progresses, such as projects that go into play, and then subsequently all these SOPs need to be revised. So nothing's stagnant in our current environment. Technology is always changing per se, and so we need to go through, revise those SOPs, have routine operations to set those up so we get that training, and then we need to do tabletop exercises. And I would like to say that, I would like to say that there will never be a power interruption, and that's never going to happen. But as you guys have experienced over the last winter season, electrical power is sometimes unreliable. You go through a winter storm and you have power interruptions, and sometimes you have mass power interruptions. What we need to do is be prepared for those interruptions. Make sure that that secondary power works. Make sure that the backup generator works. Make sure that in advance of a storm, we prep for those activities. So we instituted checklists for our operators, our maintenance staff to go through and check this equipment before a storm event, to make sure that everything's fully operational, and to go through these training exercises, to make sure they're familiar enough with the SOPs, they know what to do, they're comfortable executing these actions, and then there'll be no potential interruption in the future. That's the best thing to do, right? And so there's going to be a lot more recommendations. The final report's going to be out, I believe, the first week of April sometime, and then that's going to incorporate a lot more recommendations, like improved communications. I'm going to look into, what else can we do from a plant perspective to move towards a more sustainable plant. Right now, one of the recommendations in the annual report was also into, raising a lot of these level components that are in the basement of the water treatment plant up to higher elevations. These facilities were built in 1920, mid-1950s, and so a lot of the standards that are best management practices today were instituted at the time these facilities were built. And so going forward, we're looking more holistically at our project, saying, what do we need to do to enhance these resiliencies of these facilities, and we're going to incorporate those things into the new design. So as these projects come up, we'll be raising some of those electrical components out of the basements, and we're looking at doing it when this project comes up. We do have a lot of projects that are emerging in CIB, more so to right size the product, right cost of that. So in the event that obviously go right now and pull the trigger and say, move all that electrical equipment up right now, well, I'm going to have to touch it again, and then I'm going to have to touch it again when I do the project, and I might have to switch some things around. So you're always going to be paying twice for the same effort. So we're trying to make sure that we're adding value to the consumer. You don't want to have to pay twice for the same type of exercise, and so that's our plan for the future. And then we're looking at we need to be stewards of not only our supply of water, but the regional supply of water. So we need to be communicating very effectively with our regional partners, that's Rhinedown, that's Hanover, that's Chesterfield, also with our customer base, you all, and then making sure that we're familiar with what's going on in place, and then we communicate effectively to everybody. We've reinstituted a joint meeting with these individuals to make sure that they're aware of any type of capital projects that we have on the books. And the plan is going forward is, not only are we going to be doing effective communication with them, but we're also going to do their topic inside of the business fund. A lot of times you have in the water distribution system, like points of entry where they have flow, like we just spoke about, the Hanover water line, that's considered planning district. Well, we need to exercise, what happens when you have a failure in that line? How do you respond? But what are the standard communications that you do, both from the city of Richmond, but also Hanover, Chesterfield, or Rhinebeck, depending on where that water line is. But the intention is we're going to expand on those communication efforts. One of the SOPs we'll be developing is that external communication effort that we need to do, and also how to communicate effectively with the regional coordination. So our vision my vision for DPU is to make us a best-in-class utility. That's looking at what's the most cost-effective way to give you guys water and wastewater services, stormwater services, and gas at the lowest cost point that we can. That's practical. And so that's looking at what type of projects we need, when do we need them, how do we prioritize them in the right manner to keep those rates as low as possible, but also deliver the quality of services that comes to be expected. So hopefully in the next couple of years you'll see that and reaffirm that we've done that, and you can see a responsiveness. I put my cards over here on that table for check-in. So anybody has any type of concerns or just general questions that you don't feel comfortable asking in this environment, just grab my card, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm glad to talk you through. If you have a billing concern, send it my way. I'm happy to address that too. We are going through an upgrade in our customer interface, and that portal is still going live as Project Synergy. We're still shooting for a February 2026 go live date. That's going to dramatically enhance our customer service, I believe. We're going to be able to give us a little bit of insight into both customer use, but also allow some ticket escalations within the portal. So greatly needed. It's been long overdue. And then just in general, opening myself up to it. If you may ask some questions, I hope I give you an answer.
It was a very early week, but the press conferences and the briefings were appreciated as well, and we're getting updates and everything work done. I was just curious though, as far as like communications with hospitals, like
I can talk about how it normally works. I can't speak to how it worked during that event because I wasn't here during that event. But those type of customers are identified as these critical customers in our system. And so there's a different communication path. It's usually not for critical customers. Those are individuals that are on dialysis or something of that nature. Those are license gaining items that you need to address. So in normal practices, when there is a planned outage, we contact those individuals in advance so they can make accommodations in advance from the water outage. And in unplanned outages, there's usually a direct conduit to them to say, hey, this has been interrupted. This is the intended recovery time, like 4, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is. They try to make sure they're aware and they can track things. So normally, that's how it works, but I can't speak to how it happened on January 6th.
When we're talking about, updating the system and making it more efficient and all of these things, hopefully improving the network for people that live here, do you anticipate that, cost of utilities is going to go, up to accommodate those changes? Or are we going to see those changes being made and then utility costs are going down?
So I can tell you right now, that our utility system is one of the oldest utility systems in the Commonwealth.
Right.
And so when a system gets to the point where the majority of the assets are near the end of the useful life, usually the capital cost, maintenance costs tend to go up and sustain the life. So inflation happens. When you look at construction contracts, those costs have risen. Our job and what I'm trying to shoot for is trying to balance that to make it not as impactful. So I would say arguably that you're probably always going to have some level of a rate increase on a future basis because a failure to do that is going to just defer maintenance. So if you try to defer maintenance, what ends up happening is you defer it for a long period of time. It could be a couple years, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. And then what ends up happening is you have the surge of projects, right? And that surge of projects causes a dramatic rate increase. So what you're looking for is you want to optimize and try to find that balance. What's a fair rate increase that is affordable, but also manages the projects so that they're effectively not, because what you definitely don't want to have it happen is, you defer maintenance for 5 to 10 years, and then you start to see like a lot of water main breaks, sewer overflows, and then you get to the point where it's almost unmanageable per se. Like, so you can't keep up with the maintenance, and in that event, you actually start interrupting your service more frequently than you would have from a cost-saving perspective. So you'll have low pressure issues with water. You'll have overflows from sanitary sewer that tends to get into a receiving stream. You never want to be in that type of scenario. So you always want to try to plan proactively with minor, small rate increases you can manage, right? So you're looking, trying to see how you can suppress that as much as possible by prioritizing projects, seeing that there's more of a value engineering perspective on the projects. Given what you need to have, and not looking at all the bells and whistles, right? So I need these items to make sure that I can manage my utility, right? And then you see if you can change those projects around. Do I need to do this in FY27? Do I need to do this in FY28? Can I coordinate these two projects together, merge them, and then have a cost reduction? And then those things you can do to try to diminish the potential rate increase. But just candidly speaking, you will always have to have some level of rate increase just to keep up with the inflationary costs of construction projects, the increased costs of chemicals, salary increases, all those things feed into a rate increase.
So, and just to speak online with that, DPU does have a renters program so that people can receive a, reduced rate on their utility bills. So, is that something that you are going to promote to taxpayers who may qualify?
Well, you might have to ask the person that's sitting right there. She's my PIO, and she's the one that coordinates all my communication efforts. And so we can definitely look at, looking at that and seeing what we can promote. Most recently, we did look at, what was it, United Healthcare, or was it, they have options where, you can pay a portion of your utility bill on, by their U-Card or U-Hub. And so that was something that, a customer reached out to us and said, hey, this is a benefit that I can use, but I can't use it in the system. And so we just went through the registration process to allow that to happen. They tell me it's about 7 days that it's going to be, effective. And then once that's live, what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to do a promotional opportunity and try to push it out to the customers to let them know that that is an option you can use on that U card, that you can pay a portion of your utility bill if you're having trouble with financial troubles trying to pay your bills.
Thanks for all this information. It's super valuable, and obviously you're dedicated to making sure we all have healthy water, and the water treatment facility is sustainable. You alluded to another utility that the city is in, which is gas, and inherently unsustainable. And I'm curious if you have a position on whether or not DPU has the capacity to perform some of these same diagnostics and upgrades to the gas system, and the city should even be in the business of dealing gas.
Yeah, we are currently going through, we've received a lot of grants to replace some of that aging infrastructure in the gas. And so we are going through the process right now of the same, anything I mentioned for the water utility, looking at where those needs are, where those repairs are needed, where your most critical failure points, where those leaks are occurring, and going through and replacing that aging infrastructure. There are a lot of grants that are available for this that makes it more cost effective to replace. Now, looking at the sustainability effort of this waste of where if you want to be on natural gas or if you don't want to be on natural gas, that's a question and something we're going to have to ponder, because there are cost ramifications to that and also timing ramifications to that. I see myself in 5 to 10 years, who knows? There's a lot of changing regulations that occur and a lot of choices that occur where consumers may want to viably move or migrate from natural gas to electric. And if that's the case and it becomes unsustainable for a gas utility outbreak, we have to reassess at that moment and then determine where we want to move forward in the future. But for my vision, I'm looking at preparing what we have, making sure that it's safe, it's reliable, and that the consumers get the service that they need. So if you're using gas right now and you want to make sure it gets to your home, we're going to repair the lines to make sure it gets to your home in a safe manner.
Really appreciate your time, and I appreciate that last question because absolutely, I mean, I'm personally very invested in figuring out how can we become a renewable energy provider. And the city has had that in their history, but it's not something we can do overnight, and it's going to take a lot of dollars and planning to figure out how you start to turn that ship around. And there are people who do not want to get off of it. I get that question a lot too. You're trying to take away my gas stove. Well, I would highly recommend switching to electric convention because they're terrific in convection, but it's going to be a measured effort. But anyway, I appreciate that question, so thank you for bringing it forward. Our next guest is Finance Department Director Sheila White and her team. We really appreciate you coming back. I know we had to cut your presentation short last time, but now we're in person. And we have, I would say, a little bit more flexibility on this agenda to make sure we're not rushing. So thank you for coming.
Hello, I'm Jamie Atkinson. I'm the Director of Revenue Administration for the City of Richmond. I have with me a couple of my staff, Zach Randolph from the Business Unit and Brittany Pryor from our Real Estate Unit. We did not put together a presentation tonight because we weren't sure what you all wanted, but we did bring a good amount of information about our various tax relief programs, some online payment portal opportunities, as well as our new business portal that we've been pushing this spring. So we are available should you have any questions. Yes.
Yeah, I know that you can schedule payments through the business portal. Is that something that you're looking into?
Yeah, so the portal is in its very early stages. So we are doing it, we're rolling it out in an incremental stack approach. And so we have the core functionality available now, and then we are also looking at our phase 2 functionality. If that's something you're interested in, we are putting together a focus group to help advise which functionality rolls out in phase 2 or in a potential future phase. So if that's something you're interested in, get me your contact information. I'm happy to link you up with that. Any other questions?
Director White, is there anything else that you want to let us know? Absolutely.
Thank you for inviting us back. We have several opportunities now for you to connect with the Department of Finance. If you haven't been out to the finance website at RVA Gov, I strongly recommend you do so. We try to keep that updated with all of the ways that you can contact us. One of the things that is new for you this year is the bookings tool. So you can book an appointment with any of my department, any of the divisions in my department that you need additional time with. You do not have to come to City Hall. You can come to City Hall, and we welcome you into City Hall. I understand you can get through the parking, then God bless you, please come. But if not, you can actually do a web appointment in the comfort of your own home, where your records are, do it right online. Any one of these folks, you might talk to someone from Brittany's team on the real estate side, or with Zach Randolph, who's on the business. So you can book those in 1 hour increments, and we're offering that not just during tax season, but throughout the year. So that's something that's really cool and new. And actually, this tax season, we're booked all the way through the end of this month, which is really exciting, but also a little scary because we know that the need is out there. So really excited about that. Also, we're out in the community. You're going to see a lot more of finance, and we want to put faces with what's going on at City Hall. So you're going to see us out in the community a lot more. We actually want to connect with you. I brought some of my cards. I'm going to leave them over there. And it's kind of great because it has my mobile number. So if you really want to get in touch with me, you can text me. And I will text you back. I'll probably ask who you are. But I generally try to turn those around within 24 hours and get you to the team that can actually do to assist you. I did want to make you aware we are out in the community tomorrow to offer one-on-one assistance to our seniors and disabled persons. We're going to be at the Southside Community Center from 9 to 4. And then we have, if you go to that website, to the Finance Gov website, we have a list of dates. We're out just about every month this year through September. So we really want to encourage folks to, because that program runs year-round, to go to one of the info sessions or one of the one-on-one sessions so you can get the information on how to apply and get accepted into the senior tax relief. Now, I think you guys are aware that we also launched GAP this year, which is the GAP grant program. Certain criteria around if you fit within a certain income level and you're able to apply for that GAP grant. That program is up and running, and that's running through finance, and it's about $1,200 to help you with a housing cost assistance. So we have some flyers. If they're not out, I'll make sure I'll get my supply, but on one side it talks about the older adults and disabled persons relief, and on the other side it talks about that GAP program. So if you don't qualify for one, you may have qualified for the other, especially given the income requirements around it. So want to make sure you are aware of that. If you have questions, that's another opportunity for you to connect with us through a bookings appointment. We're happy to sit down and walk you through the qualifications, and it's a pretty simple application process. It's already online. We put things out through our RVA 311 app. We want to be accessible, so that's a great way to connect with us. If you send me an email, I will respond. First thing I'm going to say is, thank you for reaching out to the City of Richmond. The next thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to ask my team to open up a ticket so we can track every single interaction we have with you. I'm very proud of the work that my team has done moving forward our customer service initiatives with the residents in the city. We've gone from 6 months down to, on the business side, this morning. I think we were just over 6 days in responding to the tickets that come in. So we're taking it really seriously. We're really moving the ball forward. We'd love to have your feedback on every one of those interactions. You're going to either get a survey response from 311 once your ticket is closed, or our team is going to send you out, hey, we want to know how we're doing. We want to hear from you. So with that, I think that those are most of the big updates that I have. Well, other than kind of the standard things, tax season's here. We want it, we want to make sure that everyone's compliant. If you need help, please don't hesitate to reach us. We're eager to help, and we're eager to understand where you guys are feeling the pain. So the more we hear from you, the better we're going to get. So absolutely delighted to be back in the 2nd District. You're going to see me around the city, and then you're going to see members of my team, and those are the same people who serve here every day. Thank you for the opportunity.
Actually, that's right. I just had a question.
Sure.
What's the total funding for the gap grant?
It's 3.4 or 3.9. I can't remember exactly which. Should be more precise, but I believe it's over 3 million, but not quite 4.
And that's first come, first served. It's not
It is first come, first serve, maximum of $1,200 relief per applicant.
so $1,200 at one time or spaced out the year?
$1,200 one time. We want to be efficient in our processing. So if you qualify, we're going to give it to you and move to the next applicant.
And do you know how much has been claimed already this year?
So we've had, how many applications? Okay. Yeah, 12 approved, but how many applications? Yeah, so we've had 63. So it's been pretty low, and we've been talking about this since October. Applications went up in January, so that's why we're out here now, making sure that people are aware.
And just, sorry, one last one.
No, go ahead.
And is there do you have to provide a social security number for this, or is it just residency based?
It is residency based. There are some required documents, and those are all out on the website telling you how to apply. Yep.
And from time of application, about how long does it take for someone to build
So time of application right now, we do the intake, we do the approval, it goes to our Department of Social Services, and then comes back to us in finance to cut the check. Right now, most of our applicants came in February. We have not cut our first checks yet, so it's a little slower on this first round. We expect that we're going to get much faster. So I can't give you a really good SLA, except to say right now it's about 30 days. Yes.
Last one, sir.
Sure.
And is this, because it's just a check that's being cut, is that taxable income at the end of next year?
So I don't know that answer right off the top of my head, because it depends on how it's going to be different for different folks, and so that's probably what I want to say, because most of it is going to be treated as a rebate. So it's going to depend on what your tax situation is. So let me not give you a blanket answer. That's really going to depend on your individual tax situation, and I can't speak to that, but in general, it will be kind of like a rebate of your taxes. If you're a homeowner, you're a renter, that's going to be a little bit different. So, and then depending on what your income level is, it's going to be really vary. So, can't really, yeah.
And the total budget is 3.9.
3 point. All right. Yes.
I know on the private sector that they can't receive any assistance already from the city of Richmond. How are you receiving federal assistance that disqualify them?
I don't think the federal assistance will disqualify them, but other programs within the city of Richmond could be a disqualifier. Okay. All right. Sorry, I wasn't a wealth of information there. Please call them. Go to bookings, they'll be able to help you.
Flyer.
Thank you so much, Sheila and team. Really glad you're back and appreciate the questions. It helps us know what we need to share back out to the community. So please, as you get answers on these great programs that really more people need to know about, please share them with your neighbors and family and friends. And I will just underscore, it really helps us when people come forward with issues they're having. And the first port of entry when you have those questions really is RVA 311. I use RVA 311. My husband used RVA 311. When I had a finance question, I was looking for, I think, a bill. I used it. They connected me with finance, and it was resolved. So, one, it is effective, and two, it helps us track all of this and aggregate it. So, I think quarterly and sometimes monthly, the mayor will get these reports. This many people called 311 about this issue, and it helps us underscore and identify trends that are happening across the city, not just in my particular district. So, and then of course, if you have any issue with 311, you can reach out to our office and we will assist you with that. For some reason you do not get a timely response with 311, we will assist you with that as well. So I want to say thank you to everyone who came to speak. I know this is not your normal work day, and sometimes it is, because getting out to the community isn't always 9 to 5. But let's give everyone who was here from Parks and Rec, from Finance, DPU, another thank you. And so with that, I'll give some updates from my office. And Sven is here to help you if you have any constituent issues. I'm sure some of you already know Sven, and he's a terrific asset to the 2nd District. The main thing that's occupying our office right now, in addition to responding to you when you email or call, is we're in budget season. Our April meeting will really get into that. The mayor will be delivering his budget to City Council on the 27th, special meeting on a Thursday. And we will, like everyone else who sees it, start combing through it. I think we all realize, because we've been talking about it already, this is not a year where we're going to be adding a lot of programs. We're going to be looking to defend the ones that are effective and to trim where we think we can in order to save the programs that are really critical. And as school board member Katie Ricard mentioned, a lot of the increase in our budget the last couple of years has been salaries. With the passage of collective bargaining, we've been improving our pay and our work conditions, and we're glad that we did that. I'm proud that we voted for that, because the better staff that we have, the more likely we can keep them, and the better service we can get back out to you in the community. So that is sort of, I would say, the headline on the budget to come is, it's not going to be what any of us wish it was, but we have to deal with the constraints that unfortunately are reality for right now. We also, in the 2nd District, are working on a lot of council-wide issues, because I've been elected as Vice President of Council. Cynthia Newville is our president. And with that just comes a lot of responsibilities that are great and exciting, but also time-consuming. Top that list, we're looking for a new chief of staff. So we're working our way through that process, things that help the office work more efficiently. Not so exciting to talk about at a district meeting, but those are things that are happening in our office at City Hall. I'll just pause now. I could talk about a million different things, but I think maybe in the interest of making sure you guys are getting the most out of this evening, I'll just open it up for Q&A. Thanks. And I think it's 7 o'clock, so 7:03, I think we're doing really well. Toby.
Not to get too far ahead in the budget discussion, but since it's been in the news, there is some headlines about the non-departmental funding process, and I'm just wondering what your position is on that. Are there any smells that you're concerned about? Like, do you feel like this is, there's a red herring here? Is there anything that the public should be worried about? And also, is there anything community-based organizations should be worried about, especially considering that so many are enduring slash and burn outcomes at the federal level?
Well, I appreciate that question. And yes, so non-departmental grants are dollars that the city gives out to organizations. It could be to the Richmond Public Schools Foundation. It could be to a group like Our Achievement that does in-school programming at public schools. it's a long list of organizations. Some are large dollar amounts, maybe they're dealing with homelessness. Others are smaller, maybe like $10,000, $5,000. And we have a city auditor that the city council brought on by code, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe. Anyway, I chair governmental operations. We've been focusing on that in that committee. The auditor's work in making sure that our non-departmental dollars are being used the way they're meant to. And for me, the big concern, and just if you've read the audit report, it's online or seen in the news, it was looking at gifts that were 2 years ago. And a lot of those recommendations have already been implemented to make the process tightened up. And I would say, am I wildly worried about it? No. I think what drove the audit was, are we getting the most for our dollars? Like, we really wanted, as a council, to see, like, how many Richmonders did this group touch? How does this relate to a priority of the city? How does this group measure up against a different priority, a different group in a different part of the city? So we didn't have sight lines into that criteria, and it raised questions every year. So, audits reveal things that are uncomfortable in the news, but it's an important part of the work of making us a more efficient and transparent city. So there'll be more audit reports that are going to make us grimace, but we got to keep doing the work because it also discourages, encourages, I think, better use of dollars, better productivity, et cetera, and it discourages folks who maybe, are considering fraud, because certainly fraud comes up in audits, unfortunately. But when it comes to local organizations and what they should expect about non-departmental this year, I'm expecting that we will be trimming the non-departmental budget. It also grown a lot. I think it'd been like $5 million and then 6, 7, it got up to $13 million. Now that was okay when we had ARPA dollars coming in and when we had a lot of extra revenue coming in, but that's not where we are right now. And so, administration is in charge of this. They've taken the audit considerations, and they're really looking at the criteria for judging and evaluating. I would not expect anyone who has not received funding necessarily to be able to make it into this grant cycle. And the mayor has said that, we need to really look at this overall. He just got this report. We've been dealing with some other higher priority issues. So I don't think there's going to be a big overhaul of how things are done. I think some of the important recommendations from the audit report have already been put in place. I think we will see organizations with funding cuts or steady. And then going forward, I think we might reevaluate how we do this all together. But it's a very difficult time, and we have groups reaching out to our office all the time, wanting to set up meetings to talk about their needs and their goals and how they help the city, and they do. And they need more help because they're getting cut from their federal grants. But the tough place we're in is we don't have the capacity to make up for that deficit. So unfortunately, it's not an encouraging answer to your question.
That's
Anyone
an
else?
honest one, thank you.
That's the good thing about audits. They're pretty honest,
Yeah.
even if they're painful. Any other questions? All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the evening, learned something. If you haven't filled out the survey, please do. And if you have any questions you didn't feel comfortable asking in this forum, please just reach out to myself or Sven, and we will work on getting answers for you. Thank you so much.